Oh boy. Are you thinking of using this color? Well, good for you, because why not embrace this fun sandy orange in your home? If you're struggling with how to use Windswept Canyon by Sherwin Williams, I'm going to virtually hold your hand and guide you through the whole process. Doesn't that sound nice?
Nice.
It's a color that has a pretty strong coloration that maybe you're not totally comfortable with. But not to worry, because I'm gonna give you all you need to know about Windswept Canyon in this color quickie, as well as some other paint colors for your walls and your trim that go really well with it. Let's get things started with some good vibes, good karma, and a friendly tap of that like button, because it really helps us on this channel. I'm a full-time YouTuber now, and we're also pushing for 100,000 subs, so tell your friends about us, tell them to subscribe, tell them that I'm awesome, even if you think I'm just mediocre. Also, as a quick side note, if you want to further support me as a full-time painting and decorating YouTuber, you can become a member today by clicking that join button. Very much appreciated. And also, a quick shout out to our existing members. Love ya. You guys are the best. So Windswept Canyon, for all intents and purposes, is orange. It's part of the orange family of colors. And even though it feels extremely punchy, it does have a subtle softening that almost makes it feel a touch creamy.
Do you like Baileys? Creamy. Sort of creamy beige.
Think orange ice cream rather than orange sorbet, if you know what I mean. We are starting to see a bit more of these earthy, kind of fiery colors coming back in style, whether we're talking about rust or terracotta or even coral. More and more people are starting to experiment to become more expressive with their colors, and this is one of those choices that can totally help you do that. Unless you're extremely adventurous, or perhaps you don't mind painting your home every year, I find a color like this to be better suited for accent purposes. And that means do not paint your entire house with it. I don't say don't very often. But honestly, because of how energetic this color is, even for the biggest orange fans out there, to overwhelm an entire space with it might be a bit tiring on your eyes. And that's just some practical advice. It's also fairly deep as a paint color technically, and it scores a 43 out of 100 on the lightness scale. This means it's in the bottom half of paint colors, and that comes from just the sheer amount of colorant that's used inside it. The easiest implementation of this is actually off of the walls on things like furniture, artwork, throw pillows, all that. But like I said, we are seeing people embrace color more and more nowadays. So perhaps using it on the walls of a fun sitting area or a living room, that could be a great way to utilize this color nicely. The parts of your home that you would love to draw attention to without it being a space you're going to spend a ton of time in. That's probably my advice. Now, if you're only using a little bit of Windswept Canyon, then you're definitely going to need a bunch of other paint colors to help fill your space. And guess what? It's your lucky day, because that's exactly what I'm about to do. Starting things off, I wanted to settle things down with a very nice and clean off-white to act as a baseline. I went with ivory lace because it's one of the least offensive warm whites out there that could help balance things out a bit. Not that I'm offended by Windswept Canyon. I mean, it's a great color, but I think it's important to give you something else that you can maybe have as your blank canvas color that you can enhance with smaller doses of that orange where you see fit. Ivory lace is light enough to also use it as a trim color if you wanted, and in just a minute or two, I'll give you some other choices that you can use as well. To be honest, ivory lace is light enough that it could be a trim color option, although a bit later on, I'll give you 2 more trim color options just so you have all the options. Antler Velvet is our next color choice for walls that takes things into a slightly different direction. It's just as dark as Windswept Canyon, and I do mean that precisely. Like, they're both right at 43 lightness wise. And if you don't believe me, then just check out the Sherwin Williams website and feast your eyes on the light reflectance value of both colors. But you don't have to go through all that, just you can trust me. Antler Velvet is a mid-tone brown tan color, I guess, that is certainly on the warm side, but much more neutral feeling compared to orange, right? The two suit each other really well, in my opinion, and even though Antler Velvet has a solid amount of saturation to it, Windswept Canyon is really just gonna jump off of it and be so pronounced, but probably not as pronounced as it would be against this color. Now, this is a bit of a wild card choice because I straight up went with a complementary color here. And for those of you who don't know what that means, blues like this are on the opposite end of the spectrum compared to oranges like Windswept Canyon. And this means the two together are going to be very charged and will definitely catch your eye. This could be a good thing or a bad thing because the relationship is just so dynamic between these two colors. You could end up with something really interesting or something that's just way too over the top. My advice is just use one a lot more than the other. And in most cases, I would go with the blue as the more predominant color, and then Windswept Canyon becomes the second fiddle. So think of an 80-20 split. Something like a nice blue bedroom with a fun pair of Windswept Canyon night tables. Maybe even that's a bit too much. How about a lamp? One orange lamp. There you go. In terms of trim and baseboard colors, normally I'd like to give you a light and a dark option. We already talked about ivory lace. That would work fine. But right now I'm going to give you two more off-whites, a lighter one and a darker one. I think I want to keep things a little more on the subtle side with baseboards. Whitetail is a fine warm white, and it's just a tad creamy, I would say, but definitely one of the brighter whites out there. Intricate ivory leans a little more into that orange side of things, which would perhaps be more appropriate for Windswept Canyon specifically, but essentially it's more of a light beige. So if you don't need that bright white pop on your doors and your frames, this could be a slightly more soft option, I would say. We talk about all paint companies on this channel, so if Windswept Canyon interests you, then you have to check out Benjamin Moore's Color of the Year, which is definitely more into coral territory, but it's a lot of fun, and you definitely got some orange in there, right here.